welcome to the A.D.K Rock and Metal Channel. I am Dave Does, one of your hosts, and today I'm going to be talking about the new upcoming album, which will probably be out, or will be very close to be coming out by the time this video goes up. But we're talking about the Birthday Massacre and the new album Pathways, which comes out on April the 11th. Whoa, it's all out of focus. Okay, we're back. Don't go too close to the camera. That's what. Stay away from the light, Caroline. So yeah, April 11th, and the song is the album's called Pathways. Yeah, so let's talk about it. So Birthday Massacre is a band that I well know. I've got all the albums. I've listened to all the albums. Certain songs stand out more for me than others. There are some songs that I really enjoy. There are some songs that are kind of slightly forgettable from them. But that is the same with every band out there. I had the opportunity to interview both Brett Grovers and of course Chibi last year on two different interviews for two different reasons, but spoke to Chibi at I think beginning of 2024. We were talking about, obviously I think we were in the early stages of writing at this point, or thinking about writing. They'd just recently come back off tour, or missed the tour when they came out here to the UK at the time. But they are coming back to the UK later this year, so hopefully I'll get a chance, as they are actually playing in my hometown. So we'll hopefully have the chance to re-catch up with them again, maybe get some behind-the-scenes footage and do another interview with them. So that'll be something to watch out for on the channel. Now, listen to this album. So I've listened to it multiple times. I've been driving to work. I've been listening to it over and over and over because it's the best way to do it. Because you get your first impressions, then you get your lasting impressions. And I'm going to kind of almost do my summary that I would normally do at the end of a video at the beginning. And then there's three ways to look at it. If you're a Birthday Massacre fan, you're already going to love this album. So there is everything that you would expect from a Birthday Massacre album in here. If you're not a Birthday Massacre fan, you've heard the band before, and you weren't taken with them, this is not going to change your mind. There isn't anything there that they've changed in their repertoire. They haven't reworked ideas. They haven't come and done something completely off the wall and completely different and changed direction. They're doing what they've done before. They're sticking to the plan, sticking to the blueprint, as you say. So they're not going to convert people that have already heard them before and weren't a big fan of them in the first place. Now, if you've never heard the Birthday Massacre before, this is a good album to get into because there are some great tracks on here. Now, there isn't any, for me, like the song In the Dark. There isn't another In the Dark on this album, unfortunately, but there are some great tracks on here. Now, what they've kind of done for me on this album is they've taken all the ideas that they've had on previous albums and they've doubled down on certain ideas, like song structuring. The idea of having the big intro riff and then dropping down to bass guitars, vocals and synth over the verses, and then bringing the guitars into the big choruses. That's used a lot throughout this album. It's a very successful way of doing it, but it does, you suddenly kind of get this idea as you're listening to this album that it's you're getting this formula for the tracks. Even though each song has got a different vibe, different tempo, there is a formula almost to the way of working. The guitars do always drop out pretty much all the time. I think on every song. Maybe not on every song, but almost every song. It felt like every song the guitars dropped out on the verses. After listening to the album a few times, I almost said this album could be like a John Hughes soundtrack. So if you're a fan of things like The Breakfast Club, I can't remember what the girl's name is in The Breakfast Club, the kind of goth, off the wall kind of girl. This would be like what she'd be listening to on her Walkman player back in the day, because this sounds like a John Hughes soundtrack. And there is one particular song that could have been taken straight from a John Hughes film. I'll come to that. There are 8 tracks on this album, which is fine. Sometimes you get people put out like 12, 15 tracks. I have to keep looking down my notes here, sorry. So if you keep seeing me looking down, I can't memorise all this. God help me. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. When did I have breakfast? I don't know. It's what time's the morning? Oh, it's 5:15 in the morning. From this album, though, what I would say is you listen to this album Pathways, and these songs could have been on Fascination. They could have been on Diamonds. The vibe of the track reminded me a little bit of what Cole did in their song, their album A Different Kind of Pain, where they kind of doubled down, which meant the whole album kind of sounded very familiar, very similar. They haven't really got any massive high energy tracks. but there is a lot of darkness, there's a lot of brooding in there, there's some uplifting moments in this album as well. So I'm going to go kind of very briefly through the tracks. Now, the first track on the album is called Sleep Tonight, which is the lead single. So if you're a Birthday Massacre fan, you've heard it. It's a great track and it makes sense for it to be a lead single. It's got that industrial Newman-esque vibe about it. 80s vibe very much through. Chibi's vocals always massively delivering, I should say, sorry. And it's kind of almost a little bit reminiscent of the track Blue to me. It's kind of what it reminded me of. Yeah, but great track, well worth, and it makes sense because you do get to Pathways, which is obviously the album title, which I was wondering why that wasn't the single until I got to it, and it makes sense that they went with Sleep Tonight. Second track on the album is All of You. Really reminds me of an orgy riff. Now, if you haven't heard the band Orgy, they were an up-and-coming band in the late 90s, kind of around the same sort of time as the Birthday Massacre were kind of coming out. Orgy was also doing the same sort of thing, got the chance to do the Family Values tour with Korn. And there's definitely a vibe of Orgy, and it makes sense because also this band, the Birthday Massacre, have had the chance to obviously tour around with Orgy as well. Nice riff, big hooky chorus, and again there's this element of these big open choruses here, which gets you humming along, gets you singing. It's a great drive music as well. I drive in the van a lot for work, and this has been my background whilst driving for the last few days, so it's been very good. We've got a song called, next one is track 3 is The Vanishing Game, very gothic synth led. It's almost got a bit of a feel good vibe to it, so it's a bit more uplifting, although there's some minor keys and there's some darkness in there, but there is definitely a more of a positive vibe coming from it. Pathways is the title track from the album. It's more up tempo, a bit more fun track. To start with, again, it's got an orgy vibe to it, but it's not that memorable. There's no big hooky chorus. The chorus kind of just comes and goes. It's the riffs are memorable, the energy's memorable, but the vocal lyrics not so much. Sorry, I've just got hiccups right now. Track 5 on the album is a song called Whisper. Very dark, very brooding track. Evil vocal delivery there again from Chibi there. She's kind of giving her evil vibe, which I liked. We then have Wish, which is track 6. Now this is the one that could have been pulled straight from a John Hughes thing, or Never Ending Story, or Labyrinth, or basically any of these big 80s fantasy programs, films, or uplifting. This talks about magic in it. It's a great track. It's actually one of my favourites on the album because it's so, even though it's brand new, it's incredibly nostalgic in a way. So I really enjoyed Wish. Faces is track number 7. The main riff basically is the song Nothing by the band A. So it's pretty much that, and then and I was like, oh, where's this going to go? This got a big chunky riff on it, and then it drops back out and it goes to bass, drums, vocals again for the verses. As I said, they do this a lot. It's very much what the Birthday Massacre do. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just very formulaic in that sense. And the last track on the album is Cruel Love. It's a bit of a plodder, meant to be an emotional track, maybe what you would call the ballad of the thing, although there's nothing really ballady about it. It's just a very slow track. I've tried as many times as I can to listen to it and appreciate it, but to be honest, it's one of those tracks I've just not been able to get into. There's just nothing redeeming for me or to get an emotional connection over onto that one, so I've tuned out on it, and it's basically the one that I always end up now skipping and going back to Sleep Tonight and starting the album over and over. So overall, a really good track. Now, it's not, there are some people that love it when their bands stick to the same. They love it when a band releases 10 albums that all have a similar vibe the whole way through, because then they can do it. I'm probably one of the opposites. I like it when bands experiment. So when bands like Paradise Lost went from really dark, gothic doom and went into almost like synth pop rock stuff for a while, I was like, do you know what, this is kind of interesting. When Metallica went up and went from thrash and then did things like Load and Reload, I really enjoyed it because it was a great way of seeing their experimental elements and what other things they could do. So, and there's always a risk. Now for bands like the Birthday Massacre, who are not permanently out on tour, etc., there's always a risk. You've got financially, you've got to put all your money into these albums, and do you take a risk of going off the wall and doing something very different and alienating your fans and losing all your money, or do you do something where at least then you can try to recoup some of your costs? And it's very difficult for bands to recoup costs off of CD sales and stuff like that, because they just don't exist. So what I will say to them is I would give this a 7 out of 10. Great songs on there. Each of these songs could easily have been a single, with the exception of Cruel Love, which I couldn't see. There's nothing redeeming for that one to get me into that track. But all the other 7 songs could easily be singles. As an album as a whole, there isn't that one big track. For me, there wasn't one big track that made me go, wow. There wasn't a jaw-dropping moment for me. We should have taken it up to a higher rating, but 7 out of 10 is still a very, very good score. As I'm a bit of a bitch when it comes to scoring. I'm usually quite harsh on bands, but I couldn't do that to the Birthday Massacre because I actually really enjoyed the album. Me and the wife were listening to it in the van this morning. Yes, I know I said it was 5:15. It is 5:15, but we were up at 3:30. Yeah, the life we lead. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you agree? Once the album's out, it comes out on the 11th of April. Obviously, you can check it out on streaming platforms. Yay. Or you could actually do the right thing, and as soon as you've heard it on a streaming platform, go buy it. Go and buy either a digital download on MP3 and pay for it, or go and buy a CD and support musicians, because by buying things on streaming platforms, you're screwing musicians over, and that's why I don't have a streaming platform and I don't use streaming platforms. So there. And now you're going to turn around and go, oh yeah, but your band, Dave, your band Telescribe is on a streaming platform. I'm only one member of the band, so I don't get a say in this. But I don't promote the streaming platform for Telescribe. I promote our Bandcamp, where you can buy our albums and download our MP3s for money. Give us the money. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the video sometime very soon. Take care.